You're listening to the Premier Podcast Network. Welcome to the pinnacle of wrestling entertainment, Premier Streaming Network. Join us at watchonpremier.com to unlock the ultimate wrestling experience. Curated to perfection. Immerse yourself in the spectacular world of wrestling history, where classic battles and unforgettable moments are at your fingertips. Join us today and experience the epitome of curated wrestling content. Because when it comes to wrestling entertainment, Premier sets the standard. Be Premier.
Hey, everybody. Wow, this is episode five of One of a Kind. Mr. Five-time. We got the expert of the five-star frog splash himself. It is none other than Rob Van Dam. Rob, welcome back, man. It's been fun so far.
Yes, it has. Happy episode number 5. But that's the fifth one uploaded, and then we have that one in the bank in case of emergency.
We got the one in the can, so yes, this is the fifth one uploaded.
Okay, so we've done 6 then. Okay, that sounds right.
From a shoot standpoint, we've done 6, so this is technically episode 6, but whatever. We're going kayfabe today. Just
in case RVD for some reason can't record for a week, we do have an episode on in the can, but I mean, dude, I really don't get sick. Dude, I was going to try to cut down on the adult language a little bit just to see if it affected the algorithms, but apparently I can't. I've already noticed that it just the words it's me, yo. It's who I am.
You know what though, Rob? So when I upload videos for Kurt Angle or Arn, they always give the kind of the thing where is there language in there, and if we do it at the beginning of the clip, say when we post it, that's when it might get flagged. But as long as we have a little bit of leeway, I don't know. The algorithm's so fucking weird anyway. So it's what are you going to do?
The learning process, right?
Very much a learning process. Yeah. Now, there might be something to it, though. I'll do a little bit more digging and see what we can figure out. But
yeah, all the videos that I watch, those First Amendment auditors, they censor it. They bleep if they swear, and I mean, not even just swearing, words, like sex or drugs.
Yeah. You can't say certain ones. Yeah, you definitely can't say certain ones, I know, too.
That's always been weird to me, censorship. It's so weird. And, it's like that here on the radio in Las Vegas, and it was like that in Los Angeles, where I lived for 20 years. I thought that Los Angeles would be the most progressive city, but now I know the Sin City is here where I'm at in Vegas. Now, I don't even know if that's true, but definitely not when it comes to the radio anyway, because you can't say certain words on the radio. And it's I would be wait, this is Los Angeles, and this is where all the hip hop, originates, and then the words that everybody knows would be, it's stupid words too, sometimes it'd be they wouldn't say ho, that would be bleeped out in the lyrics, and it's who's really, I mean, what is that about? Who gives power to those words?
I know, it's their words, you know what I mean? It's but people are they're so in tune and so worried about. We have an Ask RVD question later on about that. So
what's that?
We have an Ask RVD question, kind of similar in that regard. So
okay, yeah. So I've always expressed how crazy I think censorship is, because it should be the intent that could offend somebody. If I say, man, Dominic, you're a really cool fucking dude, would you go, hey,
come on, what?
I wasn't cussing, you started cussing at me,
I guess.
You know what I mean? But if I say, man, I hate your guts every time I see you, I just want to slap you, that should be more offensive than, dude, you're a great fucking dude. But
Yeah.
not with the way the rules are in society. And it's like, it's just crazy because it doesn't, what's it about? I don't know. I mean, a lot of the rules have to do with religious times, because it was only 150 years ago that I think everything was by word of Jesus, as far as I knew, you know, and everything I was exposed to, you know what I mean? Like everything that I was ever taught, or that people lived by, whatever. And still, I mean, you know, you can't drink on Sundays in certain places and stuff, and it's easy to trace that back to religion. But where does swearing come from? Like, where in the Bible does it say "Thou shalt not say motherfucker"?
Right.
It's like
I imagine like several of the apostles dropped a lot of F-bombs, you know?
I could go on and on about this, but if you haven't thought about it, it's just the word is just the way you pronounce something. So, you know, a word in one language may not be a adult word in the other language. So then what? You know, how do you rule that one out? It's just silly anyway.
Right.
Should
It
be
is
the intent, right? Should be the
Totally.
intent.
Well, it sounds like you had a pretty good time on the Keeping It 100 with Conan and Disco. Talk about that experience a little bit. It was a fun interview to listen back to and everything.
Yeah. Disco interrupts a lot.
Yeah.
It was fun, dude. I mean, I've known him since like 92 or something. And Conan also, you know, just, he's always been around. So it was cool. One thing that stuck out in my mind, they asked me at the end something about, they said they didn't know, but they asked about that I had heat with Jericho. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was like, heat with Jericho. Like, Jericho was mad at me, not that I know of. You know what I mean? Like, and I just explained it was a little gruff for me, adjusting to the political atmosphere coming in, and he was kind of representing the other side at that point. And but there was no heat, like, because he didn't even know. He was surprised when I said that in interviews, like years later, when I said, you know, that it was like a political fight, talking to him, because he was already part of that machine, and it was like so frustrating for me. But that was a long time ago, and that's what I answered with. But then I thought about it, and now I know what he's asking about.
Yeah,
He's asking about heat, because and this would have been great to talk about last week when we were talking about anger. Mm-hmm. I feel like I've told this story so many times, but I know this is what dude was probably talking about, because I've said this on a few interviews, and he obviously heard it. But one day in WWE, they wanted to see me mad. See, they always thought that that's where money was going to be. We've never seen RVD angry. There's got to be a point where you just lose control. And I was like, man, isn't that everybody else, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, what's wrong with being the guy that doesn't get mad, you know? But they always got to try the opposite of what works, whatever, you know. But anyway, I was like, you know, grr, okay, yeah, I got it. And I was gonna wrestle, and I was wrestling or doing a run in at the end of the night. I'm Chris Jericho. And so all day, all the agents kept coming up to me, and they would just be like, just remember, like, mad, you know, like, just think of something that makes you angry. I'd be like, I got it. You know, damn, they were
makes me mad.
for real, because they were picking at me like all day like that. And I was already like, good, you know, like they had me worked up. And then before Chris goes out there, he's you know, doing it too, you know, and he had been also, you know, just, you know, have something in mind, you know, that really makes you mad. And dude, I'm a professional, bro. You know, right before he goes out there, he goes, just like, act like I hit on your wife. And I was just like, I went out there, I ran out there, and I was so pissed. Bam, bam, bam. I punched him in the face. I jumped up and frog splashed him, and I grabbed the belt because he was the champion at the time. bam, and I threw it down on him. They wanted me to cover him and do my own 1, 2, 3, and I was too pissed. I forgot about it.
Yeah.
You know, I stormed out there, and I couldn't even shower or take my clothes off. I was so mad. I had to grab my stuff and storm out of there in my wrestling gear and drive to the hotel. And I was still hot till like sometime the next morning. I don't have a big range of emotions. So when you really, I can't blame it on someone else and say, when you really get me there and prove that I should be mad. But when I let myself get there is a better way to put it. But when I feel that I'm in touch with that, it's not an easy, just like, boom, change back.
Sometimes you have to ride it out and like, just be like, all right, I'm mad. I can't do anything about it right now. And that's what's going to happen, you know?
So I think that's probably what dude was talking about. And by the way, last week we were talking about anger, and I was trying to explain that a lot of times, like, I'll start to feel the anger coming up, but then right away it's washed off with common sense. And I got myself trained like that.
Yeah.
And I think you were like, yeah, you mean like after you've had a while to think about it? And I was like, no, like not even like a quarter second. I thought of this because one thing about talking about things like this, like my values, is when I have to articulate these thoughts in my mind, then it reassures my feelings. It also makes me more aware when that happens. You know, I'll be like, I was just talking about this, you know what I mean? And so that's good. So that's why, teaching is great for learning, paying attention, more aware of my own experiences, all that. But here's a way that I think maybe I can help the fans understand. So like so there's a ladder match with RVD and Jeff Hardy, right? Okay, the anger for me will be Jeff Hardy just climbing up to the bottom step of the ladder, right? Yeah. Right away, RVD kicks the ladder out, boom, he falls down, boom. No anger, no Jeff Hardy ascending the ladder. That's how it works in my mind. It's always over something. It's always over something stupid. I'm like, for a tiny little bit, I'll be like, where's the fucking lighter? And I want to blame the only other person in the house but me that lives here, But even before it ever even becomes a real thought, it washes away right away with common sense. And then, if anything, I just kind of laugh at myself because I know that I'm the one that put the lighter, wherever it is anyway. And it's so, but that's the way it works in my head. That's as close as I get to letting myself get angry.
That's great though, but it does, like, to your point, it takes some time to kind of get used to it and be like, oh, okay, it's automatic now. But it's like, if you're cognizant of it and aware of like, hey, I'm getting mad, all right, I gotta fucking just chill out. It's not as big as a deal as I think it is. You get used to it. It's a work in progress for me. I know that much.
Yeah, well, no, that's all RVDology. Every single bit of it is about reprogramming yourself. And it's important. A lot of people never bother to reprogram themselves as adults, so they still think Santa's real. And I think it's important because people use this as an excuse too many times. I know, but I wasn't brought up that way.
Right.
So what? I was brought up in a segregated city where we had like 2 black kids in each grade. You think the white kids weren't racist then? I mean, we liked the black kids. They were cool, but they still had to put up with a lot of language and a lot of jokes and just stupid kid stuff. And thinking back at it, I can't imagine being like, well, I'm gonna stick with this because it's how it used to be when I was a kid.
Right. It's like, oh, this. I just want you don't want that.
Yeah.
You don't want that. Well, hey, it's a little bit of feedback. I took some stuff off of YouTube here, tying into actually just we're kind of talking about. Eduardo Texedo Jr. from YouTube. He says, this is one of the greatest YouTube pages I have found. I love you sharing your insight and opinions. So,
good.
Yeah, so he digs that. Paul Landis off of YouTube also says, Rob is cool. He doesn't really talk shit about people. Seems like a cool dude. So there you go.
Sounds like a thumbs up.
Yeah. And then Brando Lee off of YouTube said, RVD said it best. Both him and Sabu were trained by the Sheik, but all 3 were original. Go figure. And all 3 carved their own mark into wrestling in their own ways. Sabu was a modern Sheik, yet totally different and innovative. Then RVD comes in with another unique and hybrid style. All 3 have somewhat copied for something they did, but any fan that knows anything can see that these 3 wrestlers were above and beyond your basic wrestling. originality through the roof on all parts. All three are legends in my book. So
Very nice letter.
Yeah.
Appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, some good feedback so far. I was called a mark, and then the guy on the right. Those were the two things I was labeled as. So I'm okay with that. So starting off, I'm making my impact already.
I've read the comments, or some of the comments. They're posting like 3 new videos a day. YouTube Chris is, so it's hard to keep up. But I've read more than I haven't read. Like the comments on my YouTube page from the clips, and they're all positive. And I've gotten messages from some of the boys too. Chris Masters today said your YouTube, your podcast has been fire. Keep doing it. Who else was telling me the other day? I don't know. I should have thought about that, man. People probably want to hear that, but all the feedback has been good. And like you said, man, it's been fun so far.
It's been a lot of fun. Yeah. And it's been a great learning experience, I think, for a lot of the listeners that tune in, and for me too. So it's kind of just, and just the dynamic, I think, of how we're going with the podcast and how it's been working. I'm liking how it's rolling along, man. So, so I kind of tying in a little bit to who you mentioned. I wanted to get a little current as fuck as we have it, as you have it on your YouTube. So I don't know if you saw a clip on the. Oh, go ahead.
After that, I heard Curtis fuck on my YouTube.
Oh, I said current as fuck. Kind of like your YouTube thing. But
which by the way, I just uploaded. Last weekend I was at. It's always easier to tell you where I'm gonna be than where I was at.
And when you were at, yes.
But it was God dang it. I was in Florida in Jacksonville at River City on Sunday, and that was cool. And I made a video of it, and I just uploaded it. It'll go live. Well, before this goes, before the podcast, but we'll put it live in it. Anyway, it was cool. So I'm glad I got to see Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah.
You don't know how far we go back, dude. You really don't. And I had to always remind him, just because he doesn't know, but he was at my very first match.
Really?
Yes, sir. It was the Sheik's last big time wrestling show that he actually promoted, and it was in Toledo, Ohio. And I told Abby that he wrestled the Sheik, but now I wonder if that's true, because Ken Patera might have wrestled Abdullah, but then who would Sheik have wrestled? I'm not sure. I'll have to look at that. But anyway, that was my very first match in 1990, and he's just always been around since then. And Sheik told me stories about him before, so I got to pop him around everybody when I said, "You didn't even used to be Abdullah the Butcher. You were the karate master, the great Zila Samara." And he was like, "Whoa, you knew that? Hell yeah, I knew you were the great Zila Samara." That's what the Sheik used to book him as with Big Time Wrestling. And I have some of those old body press magazines, if you want to call them that, souvenir programs with the pretty funny display of their version of Photoshop. They have to cut out the pictures and print them on the paper.
Put them on there.
Yeah,
like scrapbooking.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, that was really cool. And I think I saw Kurt. I don't know.
There was a lot of names there. When I looked after we talked, I looked at the lineup and I was like, "Holy shit! There's a shit ton of wrestlers there."
Just like almost always, for some reason, RVD was too busy the whole time to actually get up from my table and go around and say hi to anybody. So I saw some people when they came by my table, and I was like, "Oh, where you at?" "Way over there." "All right, man, I'm gonna come by." But RVD seemed to have the busiest line.
Hey, I can attest to that. When we were for Ross Straver at the Ice, that line was, man, that took forever, dude. It was some good stuff.
So. Yeah, it was cool catching up with everyone that I did, though. Anyway, I know I talked to Kevin Sullivan at the bar for a while, and Katie was with me, so Devon Dudley. I don't know. I'll just stop there instead of trying to.
No, there was so. I know. I wish I would have had the lineup in front of me, because there was a lot of. But Devon, how's he doing? Is he doing good? I know he had little bit of health situation kind of.
He seems fine. He seems fine. He's not selling it, whatever it was.
Yeah, nice. Good to hear. Because I mean, Dudley's, they reign supreme in ECW, and then going into WWF, they carved out their name again too. So, so what I was gonna touch upon was, I don't know if you caught wind of Dynamite AEW, but speaking of Jericho, it looks like him and Sting are going to be finally facing off for the first time. And serendipitously enough, it was June 13th, 2010 is when you beat Sting for the TNA title, or you retained the title against him at Slammiversary. How was it working with Sting?
It was good. It was good working with Sting. I liked it because from what I remember, I felt like I got to be extreme RVD because I think we went up in the bleachers and maybe I did like a crossbody up there or something, and I like to always try to add that kind of stuff to my match, the kind of stuff that other people wouldn't necessarily want to take a chance on if they thought you might get hurt or whatever. And that's kind of always part of what I got out of wrestling and still do, is showing my durability, along with other values as well. But and he's cool and he's Sting, so I'm gonna be a lot more conscious to not want to hurt him because he's Sting,
Right.
I think at least for my time growing up, I don't know about to say growing up, the later years, like when I was just getting into the business and leading up to that, when Hulk Hogan was like the man in WWF, which is all I got to watch where I grew up. We didn't get any other wrestling unless I traveled and then went to my grandma's in Detroit or whatever. Then I could see some other wrestling. But from the magazines, I knew that there was other groups, and I knew there was one other very big group that I didn't get out of Georgia. I don't even know if it was called WCW then. I think it was. I don't know when it changed from NWA, but either way, Sting seemed like he was the big star down there. Like he seemed like he was the Hulk Hogan. Well, him and Ric Flair, I guess.
Yeah. Well, like Sting was the guy they were really building to be the big top baby face down there. And him clashing with going up against guys like Flair and those names. And later on, like when he won the title, he, went up against Vader and stuff. So he was definitely, as a kid, just from a visual perspective, like, okay, there's Hogan in WAF and then there's Sting in WCW. So,
yeah. And by the way, Sting was at a signing that I was at for Bobby Fulton in Chillicothe, Ohio, several months back, and Sting had a bigger line than RVD.
I don't think that's anything to be embarrassed about, though, for sure.
Woo! No, that's Flair. What's he do? Whatever noise.
Are you surprised he's still going? Like at this age, and him being able to do some of the stunts that he's been able to do is pretty impressive.
The reason that I'm really would say that I'm surprised is just because of information that I had gotten. And it was during his induction into the TNA Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
During the speech, I don't remember if it was him talking or if it was TNA, which would have probably been Dixie's husband giving the speech. I think it was Sting that was talking, and he was saying that he was talking about, after his Atlanta run and whatever he did, that he thought he was done, and that TNA was just starting to get their first gimmick where they were getting. Remember, they were pay-per-view only, like every week.
Yeah.
For a minute?
Yep.
And so the speech alluded to that and said, that they reached out to him and he was like, oh man, I don't know. And then they said, well, come on, we really need you. And he's, man, I think I'm done, my back. And all right, cool. Well, we'll give you this much money. And he was like, all right, for a little bit. And then I'm paraphrasing like a motherfucker, but this is what I remember the speech.
Right.
And then later, so, okay, thanks, man. I finished the contract. And I was like, man, thanks. And they were like, man, we need you to stay a little bit longer. And I was like, oh, I think I'm done. And they were like, oh, we'll give you this much more money. And I was like, oh, I guess I could do another year. And that was the gist of what I got out of his speech for being inducted. So that's why I would say I'm surprised now, because that was 2010.
Was
right?
okay, something like yeah. It was definitely it was at least 10 years ago, because then he went to WWE.
And my run was 2010 to 2012, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, your point that you made last week when you were talking about One Night Stand, you did it like on your own accord and how you wanted it done. And it seems like him coming to AEW, he didn't really get the good send off in WWE, so he went and was kind of able to, reinvent himself, almost a renaissance kind of for him in a way. And he very much feels like he's doing it on his own terms. And it seems like if his career's coming to an end, like, here this year, as it's rumored or reported, then, it's been on his terms. So that's kind of neat to see for him.
Yeah. And I've always liked him, probably more than he thinks I do.
Yeah.
I just remember also at TNA when we were dressing inside the studio offices. A lot of the wrestlers would dress in a trailer outside, and those are your options. And I would dress where Sting dressed. And I remember Sting asking me why I never hang out, in the room or whatever, because I'd always be in my car.
Sure.
I mean, I'd go in, and then you wouldn't see me again. I'd be out in my car listening to. I used to listen to Howard back then, 101. Had my fill of them after a while, but
right. But you got it, yeah.
Yeah, that got me through those days, and then they would just come out, and be like, hey, they want to know if you can do this promo like at 3:30 or whatever. But also, I don't sit down when I dress normally, and that's and Sting was asking me, about that, and I took it to mean that, how come I don't sit and hang out with everybody, because I'm standing up. And I put my work socks on, and I put my knee pads on and my shin pads, and then my boots in that order. And Sting was like, Rob, how come you never just like have a seat, sit down and while you're getting dressed? Because always when I do that, someone's like, hey, you want this seat, or they always try to offer their seat. Sure. And I'm always like, no, thanks. And I told him, I said, dude, it's part of my martial arts training. And it really is, though. I mean, That's why I do that. It's like a balance thing for me. There's little things throughout the day, and that's one of them. Like I like to put my shoes on when I'm standing. And when possible, I like to bring my foot up to put my shoe on instead of bringing me down to the ground. But but that's not always possible. Are you going to ask me if that was part of my training?
Yeah, was that customary for karate, like martial arts and stuff?
Yes, this guy from Battle Creek, James Williams, he was a photographer. I did the Tough Man contest in Kalamazoo in 1990. Just turned 19, just 6 weeks ago, and the referee, his brother filmed the whole thing and gave me his card afterwards and said, I can give you a copy of the VHS tape, if you want a copy. And I was like, yeah, cool. And then he said, also, I do some training. I think I could help you with some stuff. And this guy, everything he did was completely unorthodox, which I love.
Yes.
I love that stuff. But he would do all kinds of stuff that you would never think. It wouldn't be traditional, I guess, anyway. But one of the things was, he told me to try to pick my foot up to put my shoe on and to tie it, which I don't do that. I put my foot down and bend down to tie it. That's kind of hard to hold it up, but back then when I was training, he would do weird stuff. Like we'd ring his doorbell he opened up the door and then blindfolds us. There's like me and Dango and Andy would be with us. It'd be like 3 of us. He'd blindfold us, and then he'd say, "Come this way." And we'd walk, we'd go downstairs in the dark basement, and we're like, dude, what's this guy doing? And then he would want us to explain and describe everything that happened, and he, as if we had to call the police or something, and we'd be like, dude, you blindfolded us and brought us downstairs, and and he's like, how many stairs, and what, how did I blindfold you? And he wanted every single detail, and weird stuff like that sharpened my mind so much back then, because he got me, thinking all the time of like counting steps and like feeling along the wall for anything that would stand out, and like all kinds of crazy stuff. That's just like one example, but I think I talked on here about I did. I talked about the hand on the screen.
Yes, the screen door. Mm-hmm.
That was one of his. That was him.
How about that? I was gonna ask about that if that was him. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I love that. That made me think completely different about something that's like, okay, you see something. But
for anyone that doesn't know, the hand on the door, he had me put my hand on the screen of his door, which is the top half of his door, and he said, "How big is that screen?" And I was like, "I don't know, 3 foot by." And he said, "Do you know that?" No. He said, "Well, how big is it?" And I was like, 36 inches. He goes, "Do you know that?" No. He said, just tell me what you know about it. How about the size of the screen? What can you tell me that you know for sure? And I was like, and finally he said, "How about it's bigger than your hand?" And I was like, "I'll go with that." And then
that works.
Yeah. And then he taught me, about changing my whole thought process about how I translate certain things, but he would also, like, he loved to do this. This was awesome. We'd be somewhere like at a park or something, and he'd say like, he'd have me close my eyes, turn around, and he'd have me open my eyes, and I only get like, I don't know, whatever, say it's 10 seconds or whatever, and then he'd say, "Close them." And then I turn back around to face him, and he'd say, "Explain, describe everything that you just saw." So for me, at that point, it got me to really pay attention to detail. I'm not like that anymore. I couldn't even, if you told me to draw what my neighbor's house looks like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I went, but back then, it would be like, first anything like neon or whatever would stand out, or big, but that's eventually what taught me to meditate. Was I would try and go through all of my senses. What do you see? What do you smell? What do you feel? What do you hear? You know what I mean? If there's an airplane going over and you hear it, make sure you mention that. Cars, which way are the cars coming from? What directions are they going? And signs, if there's signs, super important. But then, trees, the wind going. Anyway, eventually we had to close our eyes and then describe everything that we could everywhere. And that took really opening up all the senses. And it was really cool. It was a cool, non-traditional way to learn that part of my Zen. And I have no idea where dude is now.
No, man, that's a good kind of thing to always kind of keep in mind too, is just a sense of awareness and being in the present of where you're at too. That's very tough for anybody to do too a lot of the time. So
it takes practice though, just like anything else, like
right.
if you're a bird watcher, you'll see 100 times the amount of birds that the same person will see throughout the day taking the same path. We don't notice, I think I might have said this on the show, but I didn't really notice how many churches there were until I started paying attention, just going around the same neighborhoods that I always go around. I'm like, whoa, there's like a church on every block. How could I have not noticed that? And, it's awareness, and it's what you're trained on. I mean, Katie always tells me that I got an eye for cute girls and that I can always pick them out of a crowded beach. Right, baby?
Yeah,
Cross an airport.
There you go.
Yeah. Some of my friends won't even notice. They'll be like, "What? Dude, did you see that girl? What? No."
Nah.
How could you miss it? She wanted you to look at her, dude. She's dressed to impress.
Right? You got to be at the airport. Well, so the other topic people have been, really focused on, and I thought it was neat because I went back and for the outlet that I work for now, Inside the Ropes, you did an interview with Kenny McIntosh, and you talked about CM Punk. Obviously, he's coming in Collision on Saturday. I thought your perspective on him was really, really in tune, and that's how I felt about it. Like you mentioned that, he's got an ego, but everybody has an ego at that point, and you have to, and to get to that level and to be in that kind of mindset, you need to almost have that kind of thing. And you weren't disparaging him, hey, it's like a bad thing. It was more so hey, this is who he is. And him coming in there, and you even mentioned how back in the earlier day when when you got back from your suspension and everything, that he was kind of taking himself on as the locker room leader.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, some people have that in them. That's not in me.
Yeah. But what do you kind of think about just him, his mentality overall? Do you think, even though they've had difficulty, do you think this, and you kind of mentioned this too in the interview, it's a little blown out of proportion in certain ways, like a lot of the stuff, that drama that the dirt sheets have been digging up and that's been getting aired out is kind of okay, this is all surface stuff, but when you're actually working behind the scenes, there's just a kind of maybe an overall different dynamic.
I don't understand the question.
So I'm kind of thinking so from him as a person, do you think all this is kind of going to work itself out in a lot of ways for AEW, or where would you kind of lay on that? I guess is kind of what I'm getting at.
I don't see why not. I mean, the fans love him, and always seem to want to see him and CM Punk. I don't see why not, unless there's some burned bridges that I don't know about, which usually I've always heard that bridges are flame retardant in this business, and I find that to be true. But I can't say that I really know him really well. You know what I mean?
Right.
When you're at work, and I've explained this lots of times for me, at least, and it's probably like that with him too. You got a competitive vibe, you have to.
Right.
You're a little bit more defensive. You're vibing way different than you are when you're chilling at your own house, with your family or whatever. So that's all I know is the guy at work, and he's seems professional. The first time I remember really paying attention to him was when Paul started putting him over, Paul Heyman.
Yep.
And I guess I don't know if this was before this. It had to be before the suspension, I guess. I don't know. We did an international tour, and he was dating.
I'm trying to think who.
What's her name? Maria.
Okay. Yeah. Kanellis?
Yes. Tess was dating Kelly.
Okay.
And they SmackDown and Raw were on different tours at the same time in the same countries, but they were split up into, two different teams. And so Kelly was on the tour that CM Punk and I was on, and Tess was on the other one. And Tess was, from what I understand, being a guy on the road at the same time checking up on Kelly really hard, and doing that through CM Punk. I guess he was texting CM Punk trying to check up on her, and you tell her this and you tell her that. And my understanding of it is that after a little bit, he was CM was fuck him. He can take care of his own, relationship. I'm not in the middle of all this. And Paul Heyman said that Test's response when CM said whatever or quit responding in the way that he wanted him to, Paul said that Test said, "Does he think I won't slap him?" And Paul's response was, "Ooh, my money's on the tattooed kid."
A little more scrappy, it seems.
That was the first time, I was like, "Really?" I was like, "What, is he a fighter or something?" He goes, "My money's on the tattooed kid." I was like, "Oh, that's cool," because when big guys are just used to people being intimidated because they're big and they're just bullies, then I always like it when someone stands up to one of them, or better yet, when they kick their ass.
When they kick your ass, yeah. I knew what's the late referee's name? Brian Hildebrand. I remember him. Mark Curtis in WCW. I remember him like taking somebody down, everybody's surprised, or like I heard that story about Joey Styles too and stuff like that. So
yeah. I just heard that told way different the other day than I thought it went down.
Yeah.
I thought I'd heard it was just like a one punch done and over. And this one, who was talking about? I'm like ducking. Oh, it was Chad Gaspar telling it.
Really?
The story was way different. He said that JBL threw the punch and he ducked it, said not today, and went boom, 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 and all this. And I thought it was just like one good punch to put him up. But either way, I love the story though, and I could never really get Joey Styles to really come out and talk about it because he's not a braggadocious kind of guy.
He's kind of keeps tight to the vest kind of thing.
Yeah. That's not something he's going to brag about because it makes you so much cooler if you don't.
Right. Yeah. And like let
how what happened. I don't remember what happened.
Yeah. Right. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, do you think, knowing how Punk works and stuff like that, do you think you and him would complement one another well in the ring?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah, I think too, from a story standpoint too, like his straight edge mentality, like you guys could go off of that really well. I think,
right, that's true too.
Mm-hmm.
That's true too. Yeah,
something like that could really play well.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see we could, for the record, I respect straight edge. I think that's really cool to make a choice and commit in a discipline it might take if you are ever tested. But whenever you're going to commit yourself to something, there's a certain amount of respectability to that. There's always excuses. I'm not saying when you commit yourself to join the Ku Klux Klan or anything. I'm just saying.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, but I'm a big fan of commitment. And,
yeah, if you commit to something that's in a positive fashion, there's
yeah. But I think the only time I remember us being in the ring, I think, is that December to Dismember. That first one, or
okay, yeah.
I think that's the only time I remember us being in the. We definitely haven't had a one-on-one, but it's possible there could have been another 6-man or 8-man because sometimes those are a little more forgettable. But
right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think you guys, I definitely, even from a story or chemistry in the ring, I think would be pretty damn good. So, nice. All right. So, Wrestler Spotlight. We had a fun one last week with Paul Heyman. This week, we're going to be talking about Bill Alfonso again. We talked about him a couple weeks ago, but we'll touch upon him a little bit more here. When did you first meet Bill? Was it ECW, or was there another time where you guys crossed paths before that?
I first met him in ECW. When I got there, he was managing Taz. Right. And then I guess Sabu stole him, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's correct.
Yeah. So I didn't know him before that.
Okay. Did you ever see him work as a referee before in like old footage or anything like that?
I must have, because of all the history I've seen in the matches that he was involved in. I probably saw him in a way where I didn't really necessarily notice the referee, like as a fan, because he's been in the business that long,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I saw a Gigante match, then I probably saw Bill Alfonso work,
Right. Yeah.
Elegante.
Elegante, that guy.
Yeah.
Good old Giant Gonzalez. So I don't know if this is true or not. Maybe he talked to you about this. I only saw this on Wikipedia, so take it for what you will. Was that his first match that he refereed was between the Sheik and somebody. Oh, who was the other person? But the Sheik was in his first match that he refereed back in like 1970. Did he ever talk to you about that, or was that?
I don't remember that. No, so that's not a definite no for me, though. He might have mentioned it, and I might have forgot.
Okay, yeah, because when I found out, I was like, wow, what a full circle kind of thing there.
Right?
Kind
Yeah.
of wild.
Yeah. By the way, I saw him at he was at the table next to me at the RCW con. So it was awesome to see him again, of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Still family. We're still family. You still want to look out for me. Van Dam, you need anything, Daddy? Yeah.
I love his social media presence, man. Yeah, I like him on Twitter. That's why I get a kick every time I see it on there. So
yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, man. So he was awesome because he could get nuclear heat, and he especially had that when he first went to ECW and stuff. Would you say, from his perspective, and I talked about how he got on me like back in the day when I was a kid watching, but would you say from that perspective he was one of the biggest heels like ECW had at the time? Do you think, or at least elevated a lot of you guys to that point?
I mean, I want to put him over, but one of the biggest heels, like trying to think of who got really good heel reaction, because heels were so over, you know what I mean?
They were so over, right? Especially in ECW.
I mean, the outsiders were the heels, like when Lawler showed up or Cornette, you know, because they had so much respect for the ECW guys. Who did they heel?
Right?
Dude, maybe. I mean, did they heal him? He definitely had heat, you know. But it was I guess, you know, the Whistle got a lot of heat too. You know, legitimate heat. Like people that hate that really hated that. Like it would bother them a lot. Like, oh. Yeah. But one story that that I'd like to share about Fonzie when I was just getting to know him and was still underneath Sabu's wing, and seeing Fonzie was in the clique, but he would move around also to different cliques, you know, and he didn't travel with us usually. Not when Sabu had the Winnebago anyway. But I remember like sometimes he would have pills, and he would he would buy like pain pills and then sell them at an extorting rate, and sell them I think it was Big Dick Dudley, and then he would say because he would get it something for like $4, then maybe sell it for, I don't know, $20 or something, and then he'd say, but I'm charging him a lot, yeah, but at least I'm like keeping it in the family, so he's not getting ripped off by someone on the outside, right? Like, and that really made sense to him.
At least you're paying me and not some yahoo.
Yeah. At least you're being ripped off from the family, so
from somebody that loves you.
Inside, yeah, it might go to a beer that he might buy back for you sometime.
Right, he could just be paying it forward. That's all.
Yeah.
All right. So, did Paul feel you needed somebody to do a majority of the talking for promos at the time, or did it just kind of seem like a fit for you? Like,
I don't think I noticed at the time, but he must have. You know, I sucked at promos when I had to first start doing them. I would avoid the promo room at all costs. I hated it. I just wanted to wrestle, and it took a long time and many invites from Paul till we started working that out. And you probably know that ECW would cut their promos like way after the show ended at midnight.
Yeah.
So, you know, say 2:00 if you're lucky. And then people that were in there, you know, that really sounded convincing and had motivations to say what they were saying, you know, they're working with this guy and they wanted to tell him they're pissed that they screwed him over or whatever, you know. I was like, I didn't really feel like I had any of that. And, you know, I didn't feel like I could be convincing or anything. So I'm sure Fonzie was brought in as a mouthpiece. And then that probably brought me out of my shell more, just being able to, for sure it did, just being able to bounce off of him and off of Sabu. And getting my message across, but having their contrasting styles it was pretty easy to reflect and bounce off of and be back to me,
Right. And like the different personalities and like the odd bedfellows kind of like dynamic, I thought
Yeah,
really
yeah.
played out really well for it. So he did get heat, like Fonzie with the crowds and stuff like that. Did any fans ever kind of like go after him or anything like that you could remember, or that was like, oh shit, he's really like amping these guys, the ECW arena up a little too much, or anything to that effect?
Not that I can remember. No.
Yeah,
nothing stands out like that.
All right. Well, so you didn't travel with him, but how was he on the road? Kind of when you did travel with him, was he pretty good? Did you guys like everything go pretty copacetic for the most part?
Yeah. He was a manager at heart, like 24/7. So he would he'd get to the hotel first, usually if he traveled, or he would call ahead or whatever and try to make sure that me and Sabu had good rooms. At least he would tell us that anyway.
Yeah, do my part.
I made sure you got like the best rooms, Van Dam. You guys are both got a view and this and that, and a lot of that stuff made me laugh because he was really just our manager on camera, but he liked his position and appreciated his job and realized that the more we liked working with him, the better that was going to be for him too. And we were all just like family, and he still appreciates it. He still, will have pictures of me with him at the table that he'll show me. He'd be like, I hope you don't mind, Van Dam. I said, I'm like, dude, I don't mind. And
yeah.
I autograph it, and he's always going to be family.
Oh, no doubt about it, man. And that's what's got to be feeling good about seeing him too, like at these cons and stuff like that, is like just kind of, hey, there's Fonzie, and it's like still that good dynamic going.
For sure.
Did he ever help you, like kind of with ideas and working matches and certain aspects of things, or was that kind of more he was there to support, and then you just kind of almost like a promo in a way where you guys would bounce off one another? Or did he kind of give you some good input on when it comes to
it wasn't his normal position to do, but it wouldn't be like the strangest thing ever. I think the last time maybe that I worked with him, he might have said, Van Dam, I got this idea. And like, and that makes it easier for me, like, let me see what you got and see if it's doable or whatever. But he would be involved, and he liked to have himself involved, of course, you know what I mean? And we always worked him in. Remember that we did that. He went from holding the chair over a fallen opponent in the corner's face to sitting on the top rope in the corner and doing a back bend and holding the chair that way.
I remember that, yeah.
He always loved that stuff. Like the more he could get involved in the match. Yeah.
Oh man, that's good shit.
Yeah.
Here's a cool question too. When you went to WWE, did you ever try to get him like in there with you as a manager or in some sort of involvement, or did that ever kind of get talked about or anything?
Yeah, absolutely. My way of doing that would be to pitch it to Paul and to ask Paul, what can we do, and Paul would always, with something like that, he'd usually, well, we need to do this first or whatever. And he would usually kind of act like that's like on his agenda anyway. I think, maybe Fonzie might have burned a bridge with the Hetners at one time. And that hurt him at least for a long, long time. I don't know if they would have considered hiring him back after that or not. He used to tell me he didn't think that they would.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's interesting. Yeah, well, cool. If you had to summarize like your friendship with Fonzie and what he meant to you in your career, how would you kind of do it, would you think? What would be a good way to kind of tip the cap to him, so to speak, I guess?
Well, for me, he was my Grand Wizard or Eddie Creechman to the Sheik. And then that guy was replaced by who's the guy that replaced him? New York Raymond. I think different. Anyway, I'm gonna go with that guy, the Grand Wizard. You know, it was he's a manager that was very important. He wasn't just there because he was pretty.
Right.
so I always enjoy working with him, and I enjoy what we represent together. You know, as a team and with Sabu. And you know, depending on how wide the picture is, you know, just when the ECW guys get to stand together and do anything, you know, bring in Tommy, bring in Sandman. It's always awesome because we're all like a special kind of family that we have a special kind of bond. Gary Wolf was there as well. Now that I think of popping in my head, like thinking about, you know, as far as like looking down at the tables. I saw Butterbean.
Oh shit! No shit.
Yeah.
He thinned up, didn't he? Thin up.
Nia Jax. You saw Nia Jax? I don't think I saw her. Katie's.
Oh, Nia is so nice. She's one of the nicest people I've ever met, like in the business. I think very approachable.
Who, baby? Enzo was there.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Never seen him. Or maybe I saw him across the way, but I didn't get to talk to him. Yeah. So, yeah, Fonzie is. He's, you know, I would love it always to have him at my side. You know, it's not always to get somebody to want to book someone else and fly them in and pay them when they already got to pay an RVD. You know,
right? Yeah. No, it's to kind of see what he's done and how much of a kind of influence he had with these. Because I mean, to your point, like it was hard to be a heel kind of in ECW because there was so many aspects that like, oh man, you're giving me a lot of, as a fan, you're giving us a lot of different stuff to like, whoa, this is new shit to me and everything like that. So it's like these personalities, it's kind of hard to be like, okay, this is so you have to kind of, yeah, with Fonzie, the whistle, all that stuff, man.
And when Fonzie had that match with Beulah,
yes,
like that, everyone loved that match so much and loved what he put into it because he's not a wrestler, and I guess she wasn't either. I got, you know, but both of them, yeah, but I just remember he was bleeding like so much that meant a lot for the fans and for the match that he literally, you know, gave his blood, sweat, and tears. And so after that, how are they going to hate him?
right?
You know,
Yeah.
So even with him, he can get heat blowing the whistle in someone's ear. But outside of that, I think they're going to kind of respect him and love him.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah. I mean, especially nowadays too. It's just like you look back at how great those managers were, and I even saw 1997. He was the PWI Manager of the Year, so like well deserved for sure. You know.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, so it is time for a Rob Van Dam match of the week, and this one is a little more random this week. So the idea I kind of had when I was watching this is we talked about your favorite singlets and stuff. So my idea was I will show you a screenshot of the singlet you wear, and maybe you can guess what match this might be.
Okay.
Let's see if we can. Now this might be a little tough because I think this is one of your most popular ones. So take a look just by judging by the screenshot. We won't make it long, but where do you think this was here?
I think that is. Was that what I wore on the Monday Night Raw?
It is. So that's why it definitely is that. But this was a different one.
Is this that Barely Legal with Lance Storm?
Barely Legal.
And you know what? The thing about that outfit, the legs roll up on it.
Yeah, they were hot. I noticed that at the end of the match too.
A lot of them do that. Eventually, I would have like an extra elastic band put in there, but that was always an issue.
Well, so you went up against Lance Storm, but obviously this is the ECW's first pay-per-view, excuse me. And
the outfit looks brand new, by the way. It was sharp. Really? It was bright looking. Yeah, my outfits they don't stay bright after you wash them like one time.
Yeah, you were saying like sometimes the guy, is it Joel? Is that his name that does your?
Joel.
Yeah. Okay. That does your stuff. He, you were saying that sometimes that like he would call you and be like, that kind of didn't work out or something like that. So.
Sometimes, but it was a learning process, and the artwork got better and better, and he learned, how to heat set it and let it dry so it would stay the right way. And plus, I had to get a special material too, because I think at first maybe there's too much lycra, and then it ended up being like a cotton nylon mix, 50-50, I believe. And even that was important because the cotton stokes in and holds the paint. So there was a lot that we had to learn about it. That's Joe Holland has done all of my outfits since outfit number 1.
No way. That's wild.
Yeah.
He still does it too. He still does it to this day. And stuff?
Yeah, he's done. Yeah, he's done. He's done my last couple, which I don't even know if I've worn the last one yet. But yeah, he says, let me know when you're ready for another one.
That's awesome. Jeez. Yeah. How often nowadays do you get a new singlet made?
Once or twice a year.
Okay, yeah, cool. Well, so this match was originally supposed to be Chris Candido. Obviously, Chris was out with an injury. Cut a promo before that. We touched upon this a little bit last week. You were famously not booked on Bare Legal, and leading up to it, Paul led you to believe that you would be booked on it at some point. Or when did you find out for sure that you weren't going to be on it?
I don't recall that. Yeah, I can't remember when I knew that.
Well, how long before the show, when it started, did you kind of start hearing rumblings? Hey, you are going to be on the show.
I don't remember that either.
Hey,
unfortunately, but I think that before I was going to be booked on it, when I still was going to not be on it, I think that's when WCW came to the town I was in Savannah. And I went down to the Civic Center, say hi to Louis Spicoli. He's getting a new action figure, by the way. That's
Is he
cool.
really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know who the company name is, but his sister Tina sent me this link. Sweet. And also I had a couple other friends there too. Who else would I have gone to? Anyway, I think I talked about this.
Yeah, you talked about it last week. It was the other person was, who was it? Yeah, you mentioned another.
Scotty Riggs.
That was it, Scotty Riggs. He looks great, by the way. Did you see him on social media?
Yeah.
Traded with stuff.
Yeah, he's not only does he look great, but he looked really not that great not that long ago. Right. So he's really worked hard, and that's awesome.
It was really cool to see. Yeah.
He sends me a video every day of the operating board, the keyboard, whatever the hell you want to call it, on the treadmill when he's finishing his hour of cardio. Oh, I get that sent to me every day. The 59, 57, 58, 59, nice. 60. Yeah. So he's working his ass off.
That's good.
But Eric Bischoff famously offered me a job at that night when I was there visiting my friends. Said, Debbie, love to have you here. I see you making this much for a 3-year deal, escalating this much and then this much, boom, boom. If you're interested, give me a call. And I think that was before Paul decided to throw me on the pay-per-view. That's the way I remember it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of makes sense too of how it would line up like that too.
Although if the reason I got thrown on was because Candido was injured, then that couldn't have, been factored in with the timing. You know what I mean? Like if that happened either way, and Chris wasn't going to be able to wrestle.
Right.
I'm just saying, it's, don't know for sure that that's the reason that Paul put me on the pay-per-view, but probably.
Yeah. Well, obviously Barely Legal first ECW pay-per-view, Philly ECW arena. Like, what was the atmosphere that night in the arena for like you guys, and just kind of being such a big moment for ECW in general?
It was really good. It was awesome. The crowd was hot like they always were, but they were stoked to be doing a pay-per-view. they were stoked with the angle, the real life angle that I was involved in, because that crowd was the smart marks that would be on the pulse of everything that's happening and get all the dirt sheet reports and however they got them, and then that's what made them so different and such a different crowd to entertain as well, because they weren't as simple. They were a little bit more advanced perspectively from almost every perspective, and so because of that, they were super stoked, and they all thought for sure that I was going to be leaving, because that's what everybody does.
Right. And the to your point, they were like chanting sellout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Times too.
Yeah. So that was awesome. Trying to get heat like I was trying to, and getting that response was really cool. All of a sudden, I felt a lot more comfortable that I could speak my mind, you know what I mean, and become more myself. And that was it was a really good feeling, because like I said before, I didn't even want to, not that long before that, I didn't even want to do a promo. I didn't want to talk on the mic. I just wanted to wrestle because I couldn't talk. I didn't know how. And then, after that night, I was kind of finding my place on the mic for sure, where I didn't have to fake it because I had something to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was going to mention that too. It's like you were saying, like how you weren't feeling like early on, you weren't confident in doing the promo, but like this promo that you cut, like at the end of this, after the match was said and done, I was like, damn, this is like good RVD, like stuff right here going on. Like the kind of attitude, like to your point, how you said, like, how W wanted you to get angry and show anger and stuff like that. This exemplifies that you didn't need to show that kind of stuff. It's, okay, I'm already hooked on, I want to see RVD wrestle more because of the attitude he already has, So, so at this point in time, I think you're really feeling it. So,
yeah,
no doubt about it.
Yeah, and probably before I went out there, I had, definitely, I had already knew that we were planning on doing the thing with WWE and Raw. And so having all that in my mind also gave me a lot of confidence, because I was out there like, hey, you can believe it or not, but y'all are going to be watching this right here. Like, I can't even tell you guys how Mr. Monday Night I am. It was a shoot, it was a shoot. Like, they all thought I was going to go to WCW, and nobody had a clue.
Well, that's what you said too, is like, you're like, I didn't do it for certain things. You're like, I did it for money, and I did it because I know that I'm going to make more money somewhere else than here. And so that was a way to do it. Like, if you want to get
fun. Yeah, it's a fun way to do business.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It wasn't like it didn't take like story writers. I mean, it was just, I don't know. It's just the best stuff is always more organic, and with ECW, it was always go with the truth. If you got arrested for beating your wife, the fans already know.
Already aware of that shit.
The ring,
Yeah. Now, what are your specific memories of the match itself? Did like anything really stand out to you that was like, oh, that was cool, and like maybe something you use in your repertoire later on that you're like, oh, I like that. There's some stuff that stood out to me for sure.
I don't think so. I remember I've seen like some replayed clips on Twitter or whatever on social media, so I know I can think of like some of those that I've seen, like a really weak chair shot, maybe. I think that was
Lance had a little bit. He pulled back a little bit when he hit you, I would think. But
and the crowd booed.
Yes, they booed because he did it twice. And he did it twice, and even the second time wasn't that good.
But I don't remember from the match, though, really.
Okay, so a cool thing that you did was your chair spot that you had. I thought you were going to do something else with it, but you grabbed a hold of it, and you literally, it was just like Sabu. You just tossed the chair and just pit Lance spot on. It was like a really good spot, like just in the center of the ring. Yes.
A pie face.
Yeah, the pie face. It was good stuff. And then I believe you did something almost, it looked like you were doing your split-legged moonsault, but then you turned it into like a spinning leg drop, which I liked a lot too.
Cool.
And then your 5-star frog splash was super high in that one. Like, it was really high. I even audibly said, "Holy shit," when I was watching it.
Yeah, I miss those steel cables. I
Yeah.
really do. That's always my preferred. You'd be amazed at the percentage of the rings on the indie circuit or outside of WWE, even how much of the rings are the shits.
Yeah.
And like wrestlers don't even seem to notice. It seems to be their standard, you know. And I had to really bring my standards down really low. And I'm not just talking about when I went through the middle of the ring in Africa, you know, and but just in general, it's like, really, like, this is what the guys are working with all night. Because with ECW, that was my favorite ring, and you know, you have to have the double frame underneath, or else when you go to tighten the ropes, there's no stabilization. The poles are going to come in and the ropes are going to loosen, and people don't realize that. I think they can crisscross it with a cable underneath. That's not enough. You have to have a solid double frame. And anyway, that was the stiffest and my favorite of the rings that I've been in, like, throughout my career. I sold them the first ring, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't have been their first ring, but yeah, now that I think about it, I had a ring when I lived in Augusta, Georgia, and it was an old NWA ring. Wow. Wow. Like, boom. I'm just like opening up this memory. Like, I can't remember. I remember there was a local guy there that I bought it from that, I don't know if he was a jobber or something with NWA, but I had the ring. Where would I have had it? In Augusta? I don't know, but I sold it to Paul, and then and it was an 18 by 18. It was my favorite ring. And then eventually they moved that one to the school, so I was told, and replaced it with one or built one or whatever that was exactly like it. Wow, I totally forgot about that.
Wow.
But
So
yeah.
you were kind of you mentioned too how you like the 18 by 18 last week, right? And so
yeah. Sometimes they're too small, and I can't even get like a roll. And also, if they're too big, you know, then sometimes that's harder when they're really big and have nylon ropes. Sometimes it's hard to keep the ropes tight. You know, it's just, I prefer the 18, but you know, it's amazing. Like when you go from 18 to 20, how you can just do it without even the 2 feet really making it a problem. You know, it's easy to adjust to. You know, with a 16, it's like you can adjust to it as well. But either way, that one feels like you're really giving up a lot and compromising, especially if you want to jump and fly around like I do.
right. Oh man, yeah. 60. I think that would be a little bit of an adjustment. I don't know anything in regards to that, but I could only imagine how that might be a little bit of an adjustment.
Thinking of that pie face you were talking about to Lance Storm, he jarred a memory of a match with Pitbull Anthony, and this is how I would describe the competitive state of mind. Even though we're friends and we're family or whatever, we're also ready to fight if a line is crossed or something, you know what I mean? Or if we feel like there's, you know, it's like a competitive thing that makes us vibrate in a different way that I'm glad I'm able to shed off. But I remember trying that with Pitbull Anthony, but I had to learn first, I guess, how to throw the chair and not let it spin.
Mm-hmm.
And threw Anthony into the corner, and I threw the chair at him, and it spun 90 degrees, and it hit him like this.
Like that? Oh no!
And it busted him open. And after the match, when we were talking, you know, I was like, you know, hey, dude, yeah, sorry about, you know, man, I'm sorry about that chair. And he said, oh, that's cool, as long as you didn't do it on purpose. You didn't, did you? And he's not the only one to say that to me. A lot of people, I mean, that's a like a normal response, you know. They'll say, you know, you didn't do it on purpose. You didn't, did you?
Right?
All right, cool then. We're cool then. You know?
Right,
But they got to check first, you know, like
right, yeah. Just feeling the waters, testing the waters out.
yeah.
So like, do you remember after you cut that promo? Was there any like? Did anybody give you any feedback in the back? Like, did Paul say anything? Anything that you remember about like, hey, that was some good shit, or wow, I can't believe you kind of said that, or anything?
Too long ago.
Too long ago. I get it. Yeah. So where would you kind of rank this as far as like was it one of your favorite ECW pay-per-view matches, or where would you put that on the line of things? I thought seeing it was only a 10-minute match, but like you and Lance really complimented one another well, I thought.
Well, like I said, I don't remember a lot of the match, so I don't know if I would say it was one of my favorite matches. It was definitely pivotal to my career because of the direction that I went with it. You know, I took that turn right there. And Lance is always, a great worker, so I'm sure the match was really good.
Dude, he did a spot on there too, where he leaped up on the top rope, and then he just bounced back with the back elbow, and I was like,
"Yeah, he's all the time." That was that was one of his every match.
That was a really good. I'm like I forgot how athletic Lance was.
Yeah. We roomed together, which is a strange bedfellow, as you said earlier.
Right.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, odd bedfellows.
But yeah, like in I guess it was 97, 96, whatever. When I first was going to ECW, Paul would book us at the Travel Lodge 2 to a room, and that was it. The stage that I was at of my career, where sometimes that would happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. Hence, I roomed with Iron Sheik. We talked about that last week. And Lance and I roomed. I think it might have been my first night in, or maybe it was both our first nights in, or maybe it was his. I don't know. It seems like it was my first night. I don't know, but I remember thinking, like I don't know what's extreme about Lance, because he just seemed like so clean cut and everything. And then I learned a lot about how the crowd reacted to all of us being extreme in our own way. You know what I mean? And he was an extremely talented athlete, and he could get some heat too, Yeah. And he was so serious. I loved hearing him say, what did he say? Can I be serious?
Serious for a minute.
Yeah, because he was like that. For a minute. He was like that a lot, backstage too. Like normally serious, like not one of the first guys to laugh at silliness, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. He did some good work up in Calgary training too. A lot of students I know, like there's been a good amount of talent that's come out of his school that he used to run. So
yeah, I understand that to be true. Can't remember who now, but he trained Taya.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, that's right. Oh, I love Taya too. She's been doing great work too. Holy smokes! Talk about a personality. She's got one. Like, oh man, her ability to cut a promo is good stuff too. She's very underrated, I think.
So. Yeah, we just hung out with her and Jomo last week at a pool party here in Vegas at the Wet Republic or whatever. They were out here for her friend's bridal party. No, not the whole wedding party.
The whole wedding party.
The whole wedding party, not just the bride. But so that was cool to see them. John looks awesome, like always. He looks like he just trains all day.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Now. Yeah. Did you see his boxing match? Did you see?
No, I didn't see the match. We talked about it, and I saw the posts about it and stuff. And he talked about possibly having another fight. He was negotiating with them at that time.
He looked good, man. I was like, damn, like, because you see all the parkour and stuff that he does, and his athleticism, and then his ability to box is that's pretty damn good too.
Yeah, he's really like on a different level. He's one of the guys, like, it amazes me that fans will say that they think that I'm the most athletically gifted, and that really has a lot to do with the image that I put out there, because that guy literally learned how to add a twist to his own twist to everything, that I've done. And he can walk on his hands and probably climb the top rope on his hands, and then flip back and hit you. And he's like a real live video game character.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he tell you anything that maybe he's learned from you, or certain things like that he's picked up from you?
I don't know if we've had that conversation or not. I don't know. I've known him for quite a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know. We used to both live in live in LA, and I would sometimes hook up, and I worked him quite a lot too. You know.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah.
Someone like Channing Decker, he hurt his ankle, so heal up Channing, get
Yes,
back.
I saw that too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But he still has that smile. What was I gonna say about him? I was gonna compare him to who we were just talking
John
about.
Morrison?
Yeah. Damn, I forgot what I was gonna say now because now I can just only think of his smile. I picture him down with that big smile that he does. Thank you. I don't know if Jomo has talked to me about me inspiring his moves. I mean, it's kind of there for you to see. He's doing a spilling moonsault with a twist on it and stuff like that. But whenever I wrestle Channing, man, he does all of my moves, on me. I'm sure he'd be flattered if I did his moves if I knew him. But it's like, dude, like what's left for me, bro?
Right. Leave the plate open a little bit. All right. So time for a little bit of Ask RVD. Oh, what was that?
But hopefully we'll find out soon.
We'll find out.
Go ahead. That was for Channing.
Yeah, it was cool to see you guys work together because I didn't know you guys worked before that in that
That
show.
was our third match.
Yeah, your third match together and stuff like that. So that's pretty neat that he's kind of. How long has he been in the business, by the way?
I don't know exactly. He came Sabu recommended. He promotes Greek Town Wrestling up in Canada. He's the man behind that and helps and works with some other Canadian promotions and great self promoter and also he's got everything going with the promotion there and merchandise and bringing people in and coordinating everything. So that really takes a lot. And the Greek Town Wrestling has been bringing in some pretty big stars. And the first time that before I went there, Sabu said, he's a good kid. And he explained him a little to me and said that Sabu had gone in there and wrestled with him. And so that led to our first match, which led to the second, which led to the third. And what's cool is the first one was his, and then the second and the third were from other promotions. So it's like we're taking our little angle here around.
Yes. Barnstorming.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. So Ask RVD. I tried to pick from certain outlet, different ones. So I got a couple from YouTube and a couple from Twitter. We'll start with this one. Can't Get Right on YouTube said, "Oh yeah, how about the story behind you getting the Pantera theme, like Walk? What was that? You decision, or did that kind of come with was Paul suggested that? How did that kind of come about for you?"
That was my decision. When I first came to ECW, I used a song that I got from IWF in Orlando. Their music guy played Joe Satriani, Lords of Karma, and that was all I had for ring music. And so I came there playing that. But as soon as I started feeling the vibe of ECW, and that's the first time I've been exposed to all this White Zombie and all these adult concert going people filling the venue instead of kids and country folk. And and as I was soaking all that in, I realized, I didn't like my song and I wanted to change it. And there was a commercial that was playing on the radio for a tour where White Zombie and Pantera were touring together. And then, I heard that music on the commercial, and the respect riff, I think you call it. And I was doing this respect angle with Sabu. And so, that was the universe talking to me. I thought it was perfect because I didn't shake Sabu's hand after I beat him. And if I remember right, at least this is the way I remember it, I think I was the first one to beat Sabu in a long, long time. And I think that gave me some heat with Taz, because Taz and Sabu had been building up, and never actually locked horns and actually worked each other. And then when I came along, all of a sudden I'm in the mix there. And then while Sabu and I are wrestling each other, I think, Taz was feeling like maybe he was sidestepped, but then probably hoping that over in the big picture it was still going to be about that, which I think it was, if I remember right. I think he would come in, and somehow it was all kind of jarbled. But I think when I beat Sabu, I think that I was the first to do it, and maybe ever, I don't know, but because I was Sabu's boy, he would have done that for me, and he would have thought that was the right business and whatever. But that's kind of the way that I remember that. And after the match, everybody was cheering, and Sabu puts his hand out and he said, "Yeah, good job." And I was like, I went to shake his hand, and he goes, "Don't shake my hand." And I remember just in half a second, like my heart stopped, because I was just like, oh my God, they're going to hate me, and I didn't know that's, it wasn't like, it was just on the moment, you know what I mean? And it was like, they were cheering me and stuff. They were cheering us both. And I like that, because I was always a baby face,
Right.
And then I was like, oh my God. And he goes, "Go ahead, go shake my hand, and don't shake it." As I'm going towards it. And so I just like, and then they were like, "Boo." And that didn't feel good, even though it was awesome. Even though it was awesome business, but I did not like the hate. That took a minute to adjust. You know what I
You
mean?
expected one thing, and then you got another, because initially, like, you're like, all right, it's gonna end like this, and then he's like, "Don't shake my hand." So you're like, it completely like blindsided you in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and then it was like, I showed him no respect, and that was where it led to a respect match where the loser was going to have to shake the winner's hand or some shit. And I heard that riff with Pantera on the commercial for the White Zombie appearance coming up, and I went to Paul with that, and I was like, "Hey, can I change my music?" And he was like, "If you want to." And I told him what I wanted to be and stuff. And I just remember he was just like, he didn't say me either way. Like, he wasn't like, "Great, I love it." Not at all. He was very indifferent. He was just like, "Are you sure about this?" And I think, like, at least how I took that, I thought that he meant maybe that he didn't want me to keep changing it every week or something like that. That's how I took it to mean. And I was just like, "Yeah, boom, do it." And he said, "Cool."
I tell you what, geez, I mean, what an iconic theme too that is. Holy smokes nowadays. So damn, dude. Okay. Ash 10 Shoe on Twitter. Ash 10 Shoe.
And I think you know this, but when I'm booked to wrestle somewhere, and then the promoter asks me which song do I want to play, One of a Kind or Walk by Pantera, I always say, "Dude, you know your crowd, because you brought me in, you sold the tickets to these fans. These are your people. Which one would they rather hear? Is it more of a ECW crowd or more of a WWE crowd?" And I always leave that up to them. And when it's my turn, and then all of a sudden the music hits and it's Walk, I'm like, yes. But I do also feel like that with One of a Kind, though. I'm happy to hear either song. I like them both, and I know both of them pop the crowd.
Oh, absolutely. Like both of them. Like, when you left from ECW to go to WWE, it was like, oh man, he's not going to have Walk anymore. But One of a Kind complimented you super well too. So, and hey, Pittsburgh, we got Pantera when you came out. So.
Okay. And after a while, I guess because we were doing TV and our pay-per-view, but Paul paid Kilgore to cover that. And then we were using the Kilgore version. So in WWE, I asked Shano, we own the Kilgore version. Paul bought it or whatever. Can we use that? And he said, bring it to me next week. And I brought it to him, but he said, what do you think about this? And it was breaking one of a kind. And I really wanted to use walks, so I wasn't as open because I wasn't ready for him to not listen to it, which maybe he did on his own time. I don't know, but he told me to bring it in. And so now I'm thinking like that his mind's already made up or whatever. And I thought that it was just a song that they liked, that they had to attach to somebody. But when I made this music video with the guys, they told me that they actually wrote that song for me, and so I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes me like the song a lot better.
Right, yeah. Hey, let's go with that one.
Yeah. But it was, it felt a lot more like, what do you think about this one? Like, I want to go with this. Like, it felt, I wasn't like pushed into it, but I felt, I guess maybe I felt like they weren't considering the other one, or maybe there was a reason we couldn't use the Kilgore version. Maybe, I have no idea, but I didn't think, that saying no was like a real smart option at the time anyway.
Right,
but,
yeah.
but anyway, people love it and it's cool because, hey, these guys even named the podcast after the One of a Kind.
Oh, that's right. Where'd we come up with that one, huh?
I don't remember I don't know. Was I called One of a Kind before the song? I mean, like JR would call that. Was that before the song?
I don't think I heard about One of a Kind until WWE. I
can't remember. I would imagine not, because
that almost does seem like a JR thing where he would say it and then it kind of catches on, and then.
But I could also see Joey Styles coming up with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Fans, let us know below.
Let us know in the comments.
Dude, I can imagine Joey Styles though saying RVD, he certainly is one of a kind. Yeah. But I don't remember capitalizing on it, or did I have a t-shirt that was one of a kind in ECW? I can't remember.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, somebody will know.
I told you I'm a little tired today anyway, because we just got in, Katie and I, like at 1 a.m. from Florida, and after the Jacksonville RCW con, we hung out and visited family because we have a bunch of family down there, and so we got back late last night. And so the day after travel like that, especially if it's a different time zone, my brain is usually not functioning at 100%. So I don't give myself too much business to do on the first day. But being that it is Friday, I had to get some stuff done. Otherwise, I had to wait the weekend. But
right, and you want to kind of have the weekend a little.
Yeah, so I feel like this is the third time I've had to tell you I don't remember.
It's all right. Well, hey, let's get you out of here then. How about let's do it. Let's go with the RVDology here. We'll save the Ask RVDs for next time. So
we don't have to save anything. If you got questions that you're gonna do.
Oh, so
I wasn't trying to say.
Oh no, I know that for sure.
I was just trying to.
I know how I feel when I get out.
I don't have an excuse for not remembering shit, But
no, that's okay.
I really don't remember One of a Kind. I'm almost positive I can hear that coming out of Joey Styles' lips, but I don't know if it was like capitalized on. But I remember that it was ECW that I learned how different I was from everybody, and so I don't know.
It became prominent in WWE. So, but yeah, to that point, like, hey, Joey Styles, he said a lot of different stuff. So it would,
maybe I can look at my outfits and figure it out.
Oh yeah,
I do remember Joe Holland putting One of a Kind on the tiger striped, but was that the second tiger? Because the first tiger striped was a heat wave with the Sabu and I wrestled Hayabusa and Hayabusa and Sujaki, and that was the tiger striped outfit that everybody loves.
Yes.
They also redid that. One has a skull.
The one has a skull in the middle, which I think was that the heat wave one.
One of them says One of a Kind on the back. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would like to know. I'm going to figure that out.
We'll do some dig. You know who I bet knows is producer Chris. I bet you he knows. So
He knows everything.
he
You're right.
knows all that stuff.
That's true. He's a good reference guy.
Yes. All right. Here's a good question. We'll go on out with before RVDology. This is what I was gonna kind of tie it back to earlier, how we were saying like censorship and certain things like that. Steve9 on Twitter, he asks, how do you think old school ECW would have handled today's cancel culture, and how much better would society be today if the real ECW was still around? I don't know how much it would affect the society, but where do you kind of feel about that? Like could even old school ECW really survive at this point in this day and age, you think?
If it came back, or if it had never died,
From how he said, how do you think old school ECW would have handled today? So I guess if you were to take what you had back then and put it in today's ecoscape, so to speak, I guess, how would it fare? How would they handle today's cancel culture?
Oh shit. Well, they would be canceled instantly.
Right.
When you put it that way,
Right.
you couldn't do any of that stuff. And I always say, we were lighting fans on fire, you know what I mean? And jumping onto the fans. And even back then, they were starting to sue more towards the end. It seemed like I had a few lawsuits, and ECW just paid the nuisance fee. No, I had to go to some depositions and stuff too, actually. And then they paid the nuisance fee. Just, diving out into the crowd and like someone saying that they got bumped into, stuff like that. You couldn't do that stuff. And politically, all of it was incorrect, from, I don't know, the abortion angles to the cross, being nailed to the cross, to the language,
it was like a Jerry Springer era, so it's like Jerry Springer wasn't like fucking. You couldn't put him in there and like it's gonna be mainstream or anything like that. It was just the time period. It was what it's like all about,
Yeah, it would definitely. It was awesome for what it was, but in order for there to be a new ECW, it would have to find a new way to all of a sudden, boom, stand out and be super cool. In some ways, AEW has done that because of everything they've done and their success. Like when they first started out, I was as skeptical as anytime someone says they're going to come out and, that happens all the time. The Nasty Boy Brian Knobs had some guy with Major League Baseball money, and we were going to start this big promotion, and we did one show, and then I think that was about it. There might have been another one way later, I don't know, but it always happens where, there's this new company, and a lot of things a lot of times it would be, this one's going to have health insurance for the wrestlers, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. So
I bet you heard that a bit.
So at first I was just like, yeah, we'll see, like so far there's no reason for me to feel either way. I'll see it when, I believe it when I see it. And they definitely have offered an alternative, definitely made a big noise. It's awesome what Jericho's been doing, and not just him, but he's my age and had a career about as long as mine. And it's cool to see him still in there, like on top, doing it his way, I'm a big proponent of doing it your own way, and that's what the boys did with AEW. So I can compare it to ECW in those ways of it being like a cool, more hip, in touch alternative, maybe than the mainstream. Something that maybe the boys have more of their expression involved in it, But as far as like ECW is just like so different to me that I don't think it can be about stunts and stuff anymore. No. I don't know. It would have to be about something no one's thought of, so I can't tell you what I think that would be.
And Terry Funk once said, like, I talked to him like a couple of years ago, and I remember him saying that it almost has to come back around to like a realism aspect of it, where it would be like, obviously people know, the ins and outs of it, and like, especially in today's day and age, but it's like
they don't know what they know, but I know where you're going.
Yeah. But if you're to kind of keep it in the realm of reality where it would be like, hey, this guy was like this Pat O'Connor fella, fucking, he could wrestle you out of your pants and all that shit, you know, where it's like Pat O'Connor or like Stu Hart, like, you know, those guys that could actually like really wrestle, and like the Sheik and stuff like that, and you know, get back to that kind of realism aspect of it all. That's almost what's old is new again, kind of.
Maybe I don't see it going that way. I mean, I myself am old school, obviously, even though I'm at least partly responsible for bridging the gap between that and what we have nowadays, I think. But at the same time, my old school fundamentals that are inconsistent with what I see on TV are probably not the way it's going to go. I think it's going to keep going away from that.
You think so?
Here's why I think that. I mean, I think that it's always about the story, you know, and the story of the match. I mean, not the angle and everything that's set into it, but the story that two people tell with their fighting exhibition in the ring, and that's something that hopefully somebody will implement that, because it takes a mindset that you believe in every moment of what you're doing in that fight exhibition. And I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's going more that way. But I think of it like this, you know, like when I was a kid, it was really cool. I used to ride a bike, you know, like a regular pedal bike. And I thought it was really cool to be able to do a wheelie, you know, and do a really long wheelie, maybe go four driveways down the road, you know, boom. And I even had a steering wheel instead of handlebars so I could like spin it and stuff. But there wasn't anybody that was doing like backflips or standing on their handlebars or any of that. And now, like, I see stuff on Instagram that people hadn't even thought of a lot of that to be possible in cartoons. And it's amazing where the extreme levels go, because none of it seems possible. I don't know if you've seen this, but people who ride in the bike and they can jump up and stand on it and spin around and do a handstand and spin and land on the spokes and then like balance the bike down to the ground on each side and like all kinds of do a cartwheel on it. And it's like, dude, like that's a long way from being able to do a wheelie. And we had an endo where you kick your ass, you know, like a little fishtail, but you jump up and make your back tire go up and down. It was called an endo. Those were our two big moves. And it's come a long way from there. So that's what it seems like wrestling has done too, is become more extreme in certain ways. And, you know, it tries to hang on to the foundation, but it's a pretty loose grip. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
It's very much a touch and go kind of thing. Like, what is going to catch on and how much of it will be implemented on a consistent basis on television for people to get, you know, in tune with it. I think it's all going to boil down to that. So, well, Rob, yes, RVDology time, but we touched upon it a little bit. I did, from a perspective, I would be, this whole week, I was a little more mindful too of moments when I would get angry, or like, and like some, like you were kind of mentioning, like simple shit, like little stupid shit could kind of piss me off. Like say right before I even got on here, like I'm getting try to set up here on the computer and everything like that. Yeah. I heated up a cup of coffee, and like it's a huge cup of coffee, and like I set it down like here right by on the desk, and I'm about to get ready, and I had to do something, and I picked it up and I spilled the coffee and it got near my computer. I was like, oh fuck. But it's like, hey, like I'm cognizant I'm about to get angry. It's not a big deal. You know?
What can you do about it? You can't rewind it.
What can you do about it? And then also, I was thinking ahead about like moments where I would potentially get angry, and I would think like, how could I make this funny if it did happen? And that I didn't get angry, but it was like, I was expecting to get angry at certain points. I was like, but if that did happen, how could I make that funny? Like, how could I spin that around on itself? So
yeah, look at each failure as a W. You know, right. Just look at it as a win. It's awesome. Like All right. Oh, sweet. The airport, everything is closed at the airport. There's nothing to eat. That's awesome. We got 3 hours here. There's nothing. That's awesome.
This
Yeah.
is great. I can't wait to feel hungry the whole night now.
Because it'd be easy, if you wanted to let yourself go the other way. You'd be like, fuck, God damn it, how can they expect this? That's 3 hours. There's got to be something, man. Fuck. And if you're pretty sure that you're fucked, then just you gotta accept it and try to get in touch with your own strength. You'll be surprised at what you can get through without being mad. You'll survive. You'll
make it. Yeah,
it's only 3 hours.
I know. You're just in a storm, and that storm's gonna pass. That's all it is.
Yeah.
All right, Rob. So, what do you got for us this week here, brother?
I was going to talk about one thing, and I think that maybe I'm going to switch it up. And because earlier we were talking about image, and I was talking about the image that I put out there where people think that I can fly and people think that I can do anything. And it's an image that I put out there, and that was important to me. When you're a celebrity, you have to be very image conscious. And a lot of basic thinkers are not image conscious, and it shows in their actions and the choices that they make. For instance, they will let a lot of bullshit come out of their mouth because they don't care if they're right or wrong. There's no incentive for them to be right. If they're wrong, they'll argue with you anyway, just because they feel like arguing or feel like they want to win a fight, and they don't care about the image. But images are subjective, and everybody's image of everything is different. Katie loves the Kardashians. They make her so happy. A lot of people can't stand the Kardashians. So the Kardashians image to the haters, I mean, I can't speak for them, but a lot of them think they're famous for a porno tape or for nothing, or what have they done? And then, but they influence Katie and a lot of people. She has a complete different image. What's the one? Katie left, so I can't get the main one that was with
Kim.
Yes, yeah. I mean, she's got like her law degree, or she's studying for it, or whatever. That's motivating as hell. I wish I could do that, and I can make my own schedule. I should be able to do that because I love learning about the law. I love learning more about my own rights. If you don't know your rights, then you have no rights, and it's a fascinating area. And she gets people that were wrongfully accused out of jail and stuff like that. Like, that's pretty cool. But anyway, everybody has an image of everybody, and it's limited to the information that they have on somebody. You asked me earlier about CM Punk. Well, I have an image of CM Punk, but it's really based on very limited experiences. I have traveled with him as far as like sitting next to him on an airplane or bus. I have sat in the dressing room with him. Have I shared a room with him? No. Which, by the way, one time he asked if he could get a ride to the airport. And I was like, sure. And I was like, it is going to be a smoking car, just FYI. And he was like, yeah, you don't forget, I'll get a ride with someone else. And I always thought, I don't know if he thought that I was going to say, if I was trying to add pressure and be like, you have to smoke if you're in the car. I just meant there was going to be smoke just in the car. Yeah. He could have taken it the wrong way, as if like, if you're riding with us, you're smoking, which why would I care? But you never know how. Anyway, because, and I'm going to start doing these pot shots in history. I'm going to start filming these, educate people on cannabis. But because I've always known that the laws and the whole image against cannabis was based on BS, I've always been fascinated with that subject. and I've always wanted to educate people, which I'm going to be doing on short little video clips. I'll put them out on social media and on my YouTube page, and I have a whole list of them, and I'm going to start filming. I'm looking forward to doing that. But because of the image of cannabis that was purposely, disingenuously put out there by certain people like Harry Anslinger back in the 30s and 40s, because of that, and because of Cheech and Chong, people like that, the image of cannabis is one such that even being associated with it and using my spotlight to draw attention to the most resourceful plant on the planet, I've given up part of my image, my whole image, to a certain number of the population who, because of their thinking, they will always see me as like, hey, dude, and they will always say, Rob, you're high, man, go home, bro. And because of that, because that's the image that they will see me as, which, I mean, they're a passing population. They're going out just like the people that fought against segregation, people being lifted, people that fought against women's rights. Times are changing, and cannabis is now legal everywhere except for like 12 states, maybe 13 states. It's a very minority, but yet people, even though millions and millions of successful people, including lawyers and doctors, use cannabis on a daily to improve their lives, for certain basic thinkers, their image is always going to be like, he's stoned, dude, which, you know, I smoke while we're doing this, and maybe my eyes get red, but I'm very far from being incomprehensible and being able to articulate my thoughts, you know, and I don't get like that. So when it comes to image, everything that you do presents your image to other people that see you or hear about you. A lot of my friends have kind of ruined their image by screwing up so many times one way or another. People will always think of them like that unless they get a reason to add information to their image of you. So keep that in mind. It's always subjective. I remember when I was in WWE and Bill Goldberg was coming in this day, and I'd never met him, but I had this image of him in mind that I wasn't going to like him because he had said something that I took personal, which was stupid, about ECW, something about that nobody in ECW is talented, and something like that, or I thought that he said that. Whatever, that was the limited info I had. I had this image in my mind of him, and then he was at catering, and he was like putting food on his plate, and I went up, and I was near there, and he came out to me and extended his hand, and he said, "Hey, you know, Rob Van Dam, I'm Bill Goldberg, man. I'm a big fan of yours. I really appreciate your work." And all of a sudden, I was like, my image was way off. This dude's like really cool. And he was like, "You're so talented." And I was like, dude, an image is just an image. It's not a real person. It's not three-dimensional. It's just an image. And that's what lives up in our mind. The real people don't live up here. Just so keep in mind that all of your actions help build your image. If you want people to think you're an asshole, then act like an asshole. You know what I mean? And if you want people to think you're cool, then try and put that out there. And everything that you do creates your image to some people. Some people, it seems like you just can't change their image of you, but really you can. They just don't have enough information about you, or maybe they have the right image of you. But because I was the first person, or one of the first, for the wrestling promoters to see do a lot of moves, such as my one-legged kick off the top rope. Terry Taylor used to tell me, like, you're gonna blow your knee out, like, can't you like bump with it, which I usually do now, but I used to jump off the top rope, bam, I deliver the one-legged side kick to somebody's face, bam, and I used to land standing up, which sometimes I still do, but usually I'll go ahead and just like roll with it, because I feel like after I deliver it, sometimes I like to just let gravity take over. But they were like, man, aren't you gonna blow your knee out? Like, that's crazy. I cringe every time I see you do that. Terry Taylor said that to me one time shortly after that, because I was like, no, man, I'm good. I've been doing that for years. Arn Anderson came up to me because he was an agent, and he was discussing this idea that they had for a match where there's going to be several wrestlers involved. Somebody was going to be coming down to the ring, down the aisleway, theoretically, and Arn was wanting to suggest, this was brought up in a meeting, that RVD jumps off the top rope over the corner post and does that one-legged kick to the person that's running towards the ring, bam, down to the floor. I said, Arn, are you fucking crazy? I said, you think I can do that kick from the top rope to the floor? Wow. Over the corner post? You think I can land that and then land safely and not kill myself? And he's like, you mean you can't? Are you saying you can't? I'm like, not safely. I could do it, but I would kill myself. Dude, from the top rope, jump down towards the aisle and extend my leg and deliver that kick, and then land safely. So, well, I'm sorry, Rob, because the funny thing is, there was 5 or 6 of us in the meeting, and there wasn't one of us that even questioned that you could do it. That's all because of the image that I put out there, and so every action publicly, especially for people like us, everything I say, this is all going towards people's image of me. So that's why I'm conscious of what I say. I'm not cancelable because I'm a good, valued person. So good, in fact, that I'm proud enough to share when I can. We learn from 2 ways: our own experience and the experience of others. So if I can help other people with my experience, boom, I'm here to do it.
You got it settled, man.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch to that and just go off the cuff and just talk about it. Keep that in mind, though. Everyone's got an image of you. It might be somebody you don't think you're going to see again. Maybe it's a person at the grocery store, the bank, whatever. When you see them again, they already have an image of you. If you're the guy that farted in line at the bank, they're going to be like, oh my God, that's
that fucking dude who farted.
That dude.
That's that fucking stinky ass guy.
Hey, some of the fans, I think like, oh, here's that one with that really bad breath. I do, it's part of my image of them because that's my experience.
Yeah. You always got to think about this. And especially too, if you're in the limelight and stuff. It's just
for sure.
100%.
For sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It would only take one little slip up of me doing something really stupid that I would never do, though,
Right. Because you're aware of yourself and like what you put out there, and you're all, it's
I'm not an idiot. I'm not an idiot.
Right. You're not a basic thinker.
Exactly. So you too can elevate from basic thinker status if you're willing to reprogram yourself as an adult. All it takes is being aware. And that's it. The more you're aware of it, that's the first step towards building strength and changing it. You'll notice it, you'll point it out to yourself, and then boom, then you can deal with it.
Right. Level up. And it's like, if you're not learning as you go on, you're not growing. So hell yeah, Rob. Cool. Well, so this will release tomorrow on Premiere, and then it'll release on Monday everywhere at 4:20 p.m. Eastern. But is there anything that you want to kind of plug?
I just got back. Like I said, we went to that this coming weekend. Where am I? On the 25th. Mm-hmm. I is that Astronomicon? Maybe.
So running in next weekend to this weekend. So it'll be the 20. So next weekend will be the 20. Wait, the 20. Yeah, you're right. 25th.
I'm somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm hold on a second.
That's okay.
What? Give me.
No worries. As Rob's doing that, what you guys are watching here, if you're watching it, you're watching on the Premier Network, the full episode. But maybe you're seeing these clips on YouTube, which you can do at above. Go to rvdpod.com. Be sure to make some comments, whatever the video is, whether it's a question that we ask or RVDology. Drop some comments in there. Drop your thoughts in there. Give us feedback. Oh, jeez, oh, man.
So the 24th and 25th, I am in Michigan. It's the Astronomicon, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not exactly sure what city. Somewhere. I mean, it's in Detroit, but I'm not exactly sure what part. But my old stomping ground. So I know we're gonna kill it there.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. Geez,
Yeah.
How does it feel when you go back to Michigan like that? Pretty good.
Yeah, and it's been a minute. I haven't been there, and I can't remember the last time I've been.
Before
been
the pandemic or after?
Way before.
Wow,
I can't
so it's been
remember
that long.
Yeah.
Wow, holy smokes.
I don't know, 5, 10 years. There's really not much reason to go back. I'm trying to think of I think I drove through when I was with TNA and I was close by, like in Saginaw or something. I think that was the last trip I remember anyway. I was in somewhere around there anyway, and I drove through and I saw like maybe 2 people that I knew, and so that was wow. So that was at least 10 years ago.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Besides Battle Creek, nowhere else in Michigan either. So I guess there's probably some people that are ready to see RVD.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, little homecoming happening. Well, cool.
Yeah.
As far as anything else goes, guys, follow RVD on Twitter at @TheRealRVD. Follow me on Twitter at Dominic DeAngelo. Follow the podcast at RVD Pod. Rob, when you followed the RVD Pod, we got like 200 more followers. So
awesome.
You really heated it up. So good stuff.
Nice. Follow if you're not.
Yeah, follow if you're not. Exactly. But hey, guys, it's been another fun episode. Thank you to producer Chris for coming up with the notes and everything like that.
YouTube, Chris.
Yep. Big thanks to him. Big thanks to all you guys that have interacted with us and everything like that. We appreciate it very much. So thank you, Premier. And hey, guys, see you next week here. Rob, thanks for joining me here on your own podcast, One of a Kind with RVD.
Have a great weekend or great week, depending on when you're listening.
When you're tuning in.
I was waiting for some kind of sign, some kind of indication I was wasting my time. I got myself up out the basement. I faked it long enough to say I made it. I was patient, I put up a fight. I kept saying to myself,